Hey, True Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's August 3rd, 2016. For the last week, front and center in the media has been the character Khizr Khan, the man who spoke at the end of the Democratic National Convention, shouting down Trump, advocating for Hillary, and militarism. What I want to talk about in this video is the military-industrial complex, something that Eisenhower warned about as he was exiting the presidency just before JFK became the 35th president. Eisenhower warned about what was going on within our military, how it was taking over the nation, and it could grow to something that is a nightmare. To learn to see through what is going on in this nation, to see the lies in the media, the deception, you want to take the time to learn what I am teaching, the language of numbers, because it is a very important language to Freemasonry and the Zionist Jews who control media and who control government. This man, Khizr Khan, I've already put out 2 videos exposing him for the fraud that he is. What I wanted to do is look back to see when he was first introduced to the American people. When was this character first unleashed? Where it traces back to is March 22nd, 2005. 322, a very special number to George W. Bush, who was the president when September 11th happened, which was a false flag attack to start a needless military and domestic spying agenda. Before George W. Bush became the president, before he had his administration, all the members of his administration were part of something called the Project for a New American Century. And you can still look up this Project for a New American Century, and you can still read the document that they wrote just before they took over. They wrote that the United States needed a new Pearl Harbor to start a new foreign and domestic military agenda. And it's very specific. It talks about attacking the Middle East. Well, lo and behold, on September 11th, 2001, we got our new Pearl Harbor. And that group was called the Project for a New American Century. September 11th is New Year's Day on the Coptic calendar, which is an old world Christian calendar still used in Egypt and other parts of the world. Project for a New American Century, New Year's Day on a different calendar, New Pearl Harbor. We are living out a planned agenda, and it includes everything from the destruction of the towers on September 11th to George W. Bush being installed as the president, to characters such as Khizr Khan being put before our eyes, a real con man. The Iraq and Afghanistan wars are very much about decentralizing that part of the planet, which is very Islamic. This is a Muslim man advocating for these wars that are meant to destroy those people. And why are they being destroyed? Again, it comes back to Zionism, the false Jews who hate Muslims more than any other religious group. And through the media that they control, condition the minds of the people to have their same belief system. So this article, 322-2005, that was the 2-year anniversary of shock and awe being presented to the United States, the bombing campaign of Baghdad, March 22nd news, CNN. Let's real quickly revisit the importance of 322, listening to George W. Bush and John Kerry, the 2004 presidential hopefuls. Check this out, Truth Seeker. The 2 people running for president in 2004 for the major parties were members of the same secret society, Skull and Bones, that identifies by 322, that allows 15 new members a year. And people think we live in a democracy. We lived in nothing but a rigged dictatorship. And as you watch this, remember how John Kerry and Barack Obama tried to start the war with Syria in 2013, a war that will still come.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
I hate that phrase, conspiracy theorists. Most of us are conspiracy fact tellers. You know, they always want to make it seem like conspiracy is something that doesn't ever happen. It's just a theory. There's never been a conspiracy. They give this programming to the weak, feeble American minds that are poisoned with all sorts of toxins. in our purposefully toxic diets, which are subsidized by our government. Not too many Americans can think. They can only regurgitate what they're told. Let's continue.
322. First of all, he's not the nominee, and look, I look forward.
Are you prepared to lose?
No, I'm not going to lose.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, a secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job, and I intend to do it.
And we'll be watching. Be safe on the campaign trail. John Kerry, thanks for joining us. And we'll be right back.
Before we move on to the military-industrial complex in 322, I just want to look at the death of Tim Russert, the man who asked both Kerry and Bush about being in Skull and Bones in 322. He would end up dying on a Friday the 13th, Tim Russert. I want you to notice that Friday the 13th has gematria of 223, the reflection of 322. The synagogue of Satan equals 223. That's the name given to the false Jews who are supposed to rule in the end times in the end of the Bible. The reflection of 322. Those are the Zionist Jews who control the media. Masonic sums to 223. Skull and Bones, a Masonic elite order that identifies by 322. The number on their building at Yale. The Bush dynasty comes from New Haven, Connecticut, where Yale is. Tim Russert, when he passed, he was pronounced dead at 2:23 p.m. The entire story of his death is by the numbers. His death at age 58, Freemasonry equals 58. He died in a specific amount of days after doing that first interview asking about 322. The day he died was a date with 47 numerology. President equals 47. He was interviewing the president about it. Also, agent equals 47. Mafia equals 47. Tim Russert was very much part of this Masonic Zionist agenda in the media. And it's entirely possible that his death was faked by the numbers. It's also entirely possible that he overstepped his bounds by asking about those numbers and was killed for it. So 322 is the military-industrial complex. John Kerry, a member of the military. George W. Bush, supposedly a member of the military, even though nobody could find any proof of his service. Remember how Dan Rather had to resign for calling him out with the forged documents. But military-industrial complex 322, and that's what all of these elected officials do. They go into Congress and they continue the military agenda. This is a nation that began with genocide and has been at war for almost every single year of its existence. Let's listen to what Eisenhower said about the military-industrial complex January 17th, 1961. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. We now stand 10 years past the midpoint of a century that has witnessed 4 major wars among great nations. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
So did you hear what he said? Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can combat this military-industrial complex. And that is certainly not what we have in the United States. We have an entertained, deceived, mind-off-in-the-clouds populace who just shrugs their shoulders at everything. And if you watch more of that speech, he talks about what a nightmare the military-industrial complex can grow to. Think about it. September 11th was a false flag military action by our own government to start a new domestic agenda here. One where it's legal to spy on the citizens, collect their information. One where we start wars just based off our own accusations, saying, oh, that country across the ocean, they might be a threat to us, so we're going to war over there. Never mind that it was people from Israel who were here to document the attack. Never mind that the official report is supposedly everyone from Saudi Arabia, our ally that we give billions of dollars to a year. This is what the nightmare is, though. Staging a monumental catastrophe like 9/11 was, 2 110-story towers in the middle of New York City, and then a third tower 47 floors tall 8 hours later in the day, all to blame it on a boogeyman and go to war with a lie. Imagine if people were alert and knowledgeable. We could have stopped the agenda in its tracks that day, but we're not that. And part of me thinks that when Eisenhower gave this speech, it's all part of the grand mocking, really. They know that we're not alert. They know that we're not knowledgeable. They know we're busy with our work, with our school. We're very easy to take advantage of, the state we're in. It is Freemasonry that is running this show by the numbers. It is Zionism that is running this show by the numbers. Notice they keep putting this father, who they once introduced on 322 and who's now advocating for a war against a region of the world that really is threatening to Islam. Notice they put this man before us on 322 to, dupe people in to falling for this military agenda. They keep referring to him as the Gold Star Father. I mean, what a joke. All this man is a con man. Gold Star has gematria of 96 like Freemason, also 33 and 42. Freemason 42 the small way, 33 the number of Freemason obsession, the name Clinton 33. In the past week, Donald Trump calling him a black soul. And Donald Trump's a horrible human being. He's all part of the show. Just realize Khizr Khan, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, these are all puppets on strings. But anyway, black soul, gematria of 96, also 24, 33, 42. Same numbers as Gold Star, these numbers of Freemason obsession. When they first introduced this Khizr Khan on March 22nd, remember how 22/3 is Masonic, as well as military-industrial complex. When they first introduced him, they said he was 54 years old. And the reason that's so interesting to me is because Islam equals 54. They pray based on where the sun is in the sky, sun 54, love 54. I'm telling you, all these religions, Islam, Christianity, they've all been created over the years by this same gang. It's all about control, steering people, and it mostly all comes back to sun worship. But anyway, this video, it's not so much about religion, it's about who's controlling us, who's doing this by the numbers, who is steering the people astray. It's the Freemasons, it's the Zionists, it's the warmongers. War, militarism, it creates debt for central banking. Central banking flourishes on debt creation. It's the only way it stays afloat. It's a giant Ponzi scheme that always needs more and more debt creation. In case you missed the first video I put out on this guy, Khizr Khan, his name has gematria of 106 like prophecy. And the Democratic Convention was in Philadelphia. It began exactly 106 days before the election on November 8th. Philadelphia is named from Revelation, the book of prophecy. Everything in the convention, all the speakers for the most part were all coded 106. That's how you know this is a whole field of liars, actor agents. Nobody in their right mind would ever advocate for Hillary Clinton or war. That's why they have to put all these paid deceivers before us on the TV screen. That's who Khizr Khan is and the rest of these people. Last point, truth seeker. Khizr Khan, for this article about the black soul, they put it up with the 1039 post time. 139 is the number for Freemasonry. With regards to the military-industrial complex speech that was given January 17th, JFK would be assassinated exactly 1,039 days later, November 22nd, in the middle of Dealey Plaza, named after a 33rd degree Freemason. After his death, the Vietnam War really broke out, military-industrial complex. The date he died, 11/22/63, 11 plus 22 is 33, plus 63 more, 96. Killed in the middle of Dealey Plaza, named after a 33rd degree Freemason. All right, truth seeker, until next time.